Start the morning right with a cup of Vinyl Tap. Nothing beats the refreshing taste of a hot, warm mug of Vinyl Tap. Enjoy your podcast in liquid form today. Vinyl Tap. Enjoy responsibly.
2, 1. Vinyl Tap. I'm Jason.
I'm Jason.
I'm Jason.
And we just listened to Seeker Lover Keeper. Seeker Lover Keeper.
Seeker Lover Keeper?
Seeker Lover Keeper.
Seeker Lover Keeper. Okay. Good.
Self-titled.
Good.
Let's start with you. What are your first impressions of Bibby?
Okay. Varied. Strongly varied. Overall, there was the same themes of things that I didn't like. And then the same, like, really strong points. For me, the last song on the album actually really showed off where the album is strongest. Really beautiful melody, super simple accompaniment, really nice vocal harmony, just like a lullaby, basically. Really pretty. And then, that's all of like the really strong points it had. Some of these songs were really bad, like really terrible. I think Rely on Me was my least favorite. But yeah, anyway, they're sort of mostly to do with textural and rhythmic kind of faults. But that's my summary.
There's not a lot of textural changes in this as an album, minus the vocal harmonies and the vocal harmonies coming in and out, having call and response.
Right. The texture thing is more throughout. They have like piano or synth doubling up on the melody, and I don't know why they do it. It really detracts from the nice kind of vocal tone that they have. And I don't know, they just do, like, there are weird moments where it literally just sounds like wet noodles. Like the drum kind of, one of the songs, the drums are playing like with brushes. They're like going between, they're doing this rolling rhythm between the snare and the hi-hat. And it just sounds like a hot mess. Not even a hot mess, just like a wet mess. It's all over the place.
This is really interesting. I really like that bit where it was changing between where it was doing that rolling drum, because the song was in, which one was it?
I can't.
Anyway, it was kind of like shifting the feel of the song from being in 4 to being in 2. Like it was rolling the pulse like in a larger way. I thought that was really interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't love this album, but the things I had against it are completely different to the things you had against it.
So what are your overall feelings?
It really did get me, like the it definitely knows what it is, and that's a good thing. There's some very lovely vocal tones and harmonies in here. Of course, the lyricism is fantastic. The harmony is so simple. Like throughout, there's like 2 ideas I could glean from it. There's like the 4 chords. There's 6-4-5-1 or 6-4-1-5. That kind of stuff. Versus those 4 chords repeated for an entire song. And the other idea is a line cliche, where it's just descending chromatically in the bass.
Yeah.
And those are the 2 ideas of the album. And yes, being simple isn't a bad thing, obviously. Like, you can build so much on it. And they did build a lot on it, but, like, it just left me wanting more. Like, it comes off as these are people who understand harmony and know how to make something interesting with harmony, and they just kind of didn't. That's what I got from it.
Going on from that, I think for me, the big point was there wasn't a lot of tension with the harmony, but also with the melody. And I think because at first, after the maybe first 3 or 4 songs, I thought maybe that it was just very harmonically simple. But I think On My Own, which is the fourth song and definitely my favorite, they had a. I mean, look, that was more harmonically complex, but it still was very kind of basic. They didn't do a lot, but the melody had a lot of tension just by the way that it used a couple of accidentals. I think the tonality it was in E
Yeah.
major,
Yeah.
and it like harmonically it doesn't really do anything creative, but the melody has these nice moments where it chucks in D natural, which
Yep.
kind of clashes, and it moves from B to B flat in the
Yep.
chorus, and that tension gave it so much kind of
Yes.
interest and
That's
character.
what I talk about when I say that these people understand harmony and they didn't really like expand on that. I also really liked this song and how it worked harmonically. It's a line cliche. The bass line's going E, D sharp, D, C sharp, and in the chorus
Yeah,
it's C sharp, C, B, A sharp, which it's a basis that's been used for hundreds of years for very good reason. It's really useful for building compelling, nice voice leading that just
yeah.
drifts along, and that's what this album does. It drifts along. Uh, yeah,
It's interesting though. There are some songs that have exactly the same kind of descending lines,
yes,
but don't do it anywhere
yes,
near as convincingly. And I think for me that was mostly because either A, the melody just sat on kind of really safe diatonic notes, doesn't really do much, or B, it rhythmically was exactly the same phrase, whether, it's just like I think da 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 da, and it just like does that phrase after phrase, or sometimes a combination of both, which just for me kind of um, made it fall a little flat.
I agree with everything what you're saying, but I think
but it's a good thing.
not like a super positive thing, but I don't think it was a focus of the album. I think
No, we're definitely interpreting it in an uncharitable way. Like the way we're talking about the album is not the way it's meant to be perceived, right? It is a nice tonally like a lullaby is a good way of phrasing that last song because it really is. It's very soft, like just a nice little journey.
Mm.
because the harmony that I took away from it was that it was intentionally simple and things that people had heard before, but they were doing more interesting things over the top, especially in terms of the way the vocals interplayed with the instruments or with each other. Going out
Yeah,
of having those really thick harmonies where they're together to having the call and response, and also doing things like the vocal harmony in two or three of the songs was the hook for the song. And how often can you
yeah,
say the harmony is the hook?
yeah. Um, I think it's purely for me the negative points are a purely personal thing. It's like the melodies are just so pretty. Every single song, they're really really nice, and just the vocal quality as well, really sweet, and the harmony that goes on top of all of the harmonization with the different vocal lines is really really pretty. But for me, it wasn't captivating because there wasn't any kind of musical tension. There wasn't kind of any driving reasons for me to keep listening. So for me, I would put this on as kind of personally, I would say this is background music because it doesn't have the things that engage me. But they're they're like, I don't know, their strengths are really clear.
Mm.
Okay, so what other things you thought were strengths or that you did like about the album?
Um, let's have a look. See. Um, yeah, so going with their they had these like gentle textural changes, which I thought were very cute. Um, like verse and chorus, they would often um, have like peeled back moments to uh, throwing in lots of vocal harmonization.
Uh,
Um,
I really like. Uh, there's nothing kind of slaps you in the face. Everything texturally is very subtle.
mm,
There's no big jolting, jarring where you're like, oh, what was that? But it still does change and shift between each song and within a song.
mm.
Any other
Um,
positives?
I was waiting for Timo to. He looked very pensive.
Well, that's just me. I really enjoyed the lyrics, and I'm not usually a lyrics guy. Like I usually cannot hear the lyrics, but I suppose with harmony this simple and repetitive, they can stick out to me because I'm not focused on keeping track of the harmony. Um, yeah, there's some very nice stuff in there. Very compelling ways of phrasing emotions, I suppose.
I didn't notice any lyrics because I've that's just not how I listen to music. I mean, what are some of the things like I like the titles and wish I could hear the lyrics because the titles seemed very thematic, but are there any sort of moments that really stuck out to you?
Well, the one that stuck out to me the most is the one that was negative in my experience, and that was "Rely on Me," where it just kind of repeats the same words a bunch. I can't recall it in detail.
I would like to quote Tim for theme one, where he went, "Oh hey, they said the thing," because they say
Seek a Love
the band
Keeper.
name Seek a Lover Keeper. Yeah,
True, they did say the thing. I wasn't sure about
Just
the
kind
harmonies. Like vocal harmonies throughout the album are very nice. I wasn't sure about the harmony on those lines where they say "Seek a Lover Keeper." Like it's all in
it's
diatonic thirds, but I just don't know if it really fits the song because there's more of a galloping rhythm to that and like a western cliche in the harmony, dum 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 dum, right?
yeah,
So I just don't know about how these nice pretty little thirds work in the harmony.
yeah.
I'm not
Um,
sure. I have a question about that song for you as well, Habibi. That's the
yeah.
song where when you messaged us and also said, "Is there a word for everything when it's diatonic?"
Forgot the word for
Which
diatonic.
was is of course diatonic.
um,
But I wanted to ask,
yeah,
did you notice the violin in that song?
I did. Yeah,
And
I
I wanted your
did.
thoughts on that.
So it's um I think this comes down to a personal taste thing again. So the violin I just didn't find very interesting because I think what they it I guess it was used as an effect, right, to try and create some kind of mystery or tension or something interesting. Um, Throughout that whole song, personally, I thought it was just very simple. It wasn't kind of no elements were kind of working to create engagement necessarily. It was just like super diatonic, super just safe and sound, and then they introduced this violin effect, which by itself just kind of I don't know, it didn't really add anything. It was just an extra sound that was there created. And then it sort of went on for long enough that you could work out clearly, oh yeah, that's a violin doing some scratchy sound stuff.
Some
And
harmonic stuff,
maybe
yeah.
yeah, and even if you're an untrained musical ear, it stays around long enough that you can work out, oh, okay, that's an instrument doing some weird shit. And it kind of didn't I felt like if they had maybe cut it a lot earlier, so it just like appeared and then disappeared and then appeared and disappeared again, like you'd be like, oh, what the hell is that? That's really unsettling. That's weird. Instead of it just being this constant thing that you can become accustomed to and then go, right, that was an effect that was there.
Yeah, it
Hooray.
becomes safe when it sticks around for too long.
Yeah.
Interesting. because I know that you're big on using violin in other ways that aren't like lead line melody. So I'm
Yeah,
somewhat surprised.
it
Yeah, I'm
was just
surprised that
that.
you're not like, oh, that was cool.
Well, it's more that it kind of became uh the effect was just lost. Like the effect was too safe and too whatever it. Like, yeah, it was a little bit weird, but it's also a trope that's already been done, and it wasn't really adding anything to the sound. It wasn't adding harmony. It wasn't adding rhythm. It was just an effect. Yeah, that was my takeaway from that bad boy.
So for me, I really like the orchestration across the album. When Tim says they know harmony and they know what they're doing, I really think that they had a clear vision in mind of what they wanted to work towards and made decisions based on that, especially in terms of instruments used, the way they used them, and the parts that they gave to those instruments.
What do you think that clear idea was?
I think they really wanted to emphasize the vocals and the vocal harmonies. And for context, these are three solo Australian artists who came together to like write this album. So this isn't
Right.
like an ongoing band or anything. And I think that all of them having really nice, pretty voices and all strong vocals, I think they came together with the intention of combining those three, like their three voices together, to make a really nice vocal focused album.
Yep. I won't disagree with that. That's very
Yeah,
true. That's what happened, and it's very good at being what it is.
yeah. I think knowing that I mean, assuming that it's a vocal focus, that makes a lot of sense. My big takeaway is that it's got a lot of lullaby kind of feels to it. Really sweet, really just um, kind of simple, but that's not a bad thing. Um, yeah, and it was kind of, I think overall it was quite a positive in like listening experience. I
Yeah.
just personally it lacked elements that I would find really engaging.
Cool. To
Um,
sum it up, let's have a favorite song and a least favorite song from everyone.
You
So Diddy,
first.
me first.
Yeah, you
yeah,
first.
I really like Bridges Burned. I think that's my favorite song of the album, especially. Uh, you guys are good. Yeah, whatever.
No, you go on.
Feeling called out. I just like
no, 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 no.
the
Tell me why you like it.
um, the interplay between the lead line and the piano, and the textural changes, like with the drums and the piano before everything's coming back in.
Right.
Least favorite. Give me 2 seconds. I've put myself on the spot.
Just while you're doing that, I think it's fascinating that you like that the interplay between the piano and the melody. I
Is something you
found,
didn't like.
yeah, I thought that was actually like the main offender for like why is the piano kind of getting in there and messing around with the melody? Like I thought there was great like the melody was so good. The piano had a lot of option to work, with that, create a bedrock for the melody to bounce off,
Yeah,
or
instead of
just
a
do
counter
something
melody.
else. Yeah, well, it wasn't even a counter melody. Well, yeah, it was, but it played like the starting note of the melody, and then like a descending line. It played that with the melody too. So it didn't do anything. It was just another element playing the same thing.
Um, my least favorite. I'm pretty sure it was "Rely on Me." Had that really synthy sound in it, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was the most out of place song for me on the album, and I just don't think it fit as well tonally, and I wasn't a huge fan of the repetitive synth sound.
Well, I happen to really like the sound of square wave synths. I think they're very nice and warm, and they appeal to a part of me that, just like that little boy that listened to video game soundtracks for his entire childhood. It just gets to me. But I do understand how it really did not fit. My least favorite song on the album was Bridges Burned, because the one note that I can really take away here is that I wrote they can't all be hits, because the first 3 songs on the album I really enjoyed, and then we got to Bridges Burned and I was like, oh, did you have to? For pretty much the reasons that Habibi said. It's extremely bare harmonically. It doesn't do anything that would capture me, and that's basically it. It's not its fault. It's not my fault. We just don't get along. My favorite song on the album, see, because I really like Piano Man, Rest Your Head on My Shoulder, it really appealed to me because it's Piano Man.
Yeah, I would say that's probably my second favorite. I definitely think that kind of featured I would say that it sums up the album really well.
Yes,
if
it
you
does.
wanted to get a taste of the, strengths of the album, you should listen to that. My favorite was On My Own. Just the way that melody worked with the harmony was really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite actually.
It was very sexy, I wrote. Sexy and mysterious. Whew.
That's another one where the vocal harmony is the hook.
Yeah.
Which, again, is such a cool thing.
Also, the first few songs were really nice. Light All My Lights, the second song.
Yeah, strong opening to the album.
Yeah, had this really nice, rhythmic change in the chorus where, had, the 5/1 cadence, but instead of it being just on the beat, it was, on the 3 and I was like,
Yep.
Ooh, this is spicy. I don't know what my least favorite was. I think, Bridges Burned, I probably it. But it may have also been possibly the Western one, Theme 1, I feel was close. Either first or second, it's hard to tell.
I really enjoyed that one too, and even though I'm a woman, the dum bum 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 that one, I just like that harmony. It's very simple harmony. It's 6/4-1/5 the whole way through.
I mean, they steer into it.
They really
with
do.
The block piano chords and the bass, just
Oh, there was one song that was just all root positions, no extensions, and it was 1-3. No, it was 6-1-5-4. So it's just arranging those 4 chords in different ways, which you can do that. But all root position, no extensions, and it's just block chords on the piano. It sounds like you're teaching me something instead of showing me a song.
So before we wrap up, Jason, I know that you're big into texture. So is that? But then you mentioned earlier that texture isn't really a thing that happens in this. So what kind of drew you to this album?
That's a good question.
Correct.
Yeah. I really like the emphasis on the vocals and how pretty it sounds. And I'm sure there's other stuff out there that has a similar emphasis and has just as nice vocals, but it's not something I've come across. So I just think it's really nice and pretty. And when you're feeling a bit blue, you can put on this nice thing that kind of is down in the dumps with you a little bit, but also kind of a little bit uplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that's a really nice summary of it, actually.